There are a number of other general provisions that impact workload and something called modified workload arrangements. So some of the things in the collective agreement that also help restrict the amount of workload you can be given are things like this. So there are cases where faculty have very high numbers of students, and for every student over 260, an additional factor is given because the 4 hours that are set aside for out of classroom assistance in the complementary hours may simply not be enough when you're dealing with that high number of students. We have caps on the maximum number of teaching contact hours that can be in any given week for post-secondary and non-post-secondary programs. Working overtime is voluntary and it cannot exceed 1 teaching contact hour or 3 workload hours. So if our workload caps out at 44, that means they can't load you down over 47 with overtime. You can't have more than 4 different preps. But in this case, if you look at the collective agreement, you can voluntarily agree to have more than 4 preps if you want. Probationary teachers cannot be assigned overtime. The workday cannot exceed 8 hours from the start of the first hour to the end of the last hour, and there should be at least 12 hours between the end of one day and the start of the next workday. Normally, you should not be assigned work on a Saturday or Sunday, but if for some reason you are, then you get 1.5 times the credit of hours normally awarded. A teaching contact hour is a 1-hour period with 50 minutes for class and a 10-minute break. So there are other things as well, but these are the more common things that we see. So now that we've done a lot of work looking at the SWIF, let's look at a completed SWIF. So this is an example of a standard workload form. So we have the top piece here, and we know the teacher's name would be here, the banner ID number. We know that this teacher works in the Faculty of Business, that they're not probationary, they are not a coordinator, and they are full-time. So we can look and see almost immediately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 different class preps, and the collective agreement says no more than 4. So this person has voluntarily agreed to take on an extra course prep. And then we can work through each one of these sections and see the different preparation factors that have been given, right? We've got, established B, a new, but most of these courses are established. And then we do the calculations. So we know the number of hours of prep this person will get a week, and this person's getting, they have 12 teaching contact hours and 8.7 prep hours. And then we can go into the evaluation and feedback, and you can see that we do have some blended factors here, a 0.018, a 0.0279, and a 0.0181. So these aren't any one of the 3 specific factors. This one is 0.03, 0.03. So that means that somewhere in here, there's a mix of evaluations and a blended factor has been developed for this person. Then we see the complementary hour allowance. This is the basic, right? 6 hours and 0.75. And then we work through and we see the summary. So they'll tell you how many sections, how many preps, and they'll carry down some of these balances. So there's your teaching contact, there's your prep, there's your eval, and there's your complementary hours. And we know that 44 hours is the max. So when we look at this, we automatically see somebody is in overtime here because their SWIF is at 45.87 hours. Now, if we go down to the second page, we can see this person just has the basic complementary functions that everybody at Durham College gets. And they have agreed to their workload here. They've checked the agreement box, and we can see that their overtime has been properly recorded here. And the faculty member has checked here, yes, I agree to this overtime voluntarily. And here's a different one. And I'm not going to really worry about the stuff up top, but we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items listed here. So just 3 different course preparations. This person has a special allocation of time on theirs. And then we've got here, establish B, repeat B, and a new course. So different types of courses. And we can tell by the evaluation factors, every single one of these factors is blended. So we carry down here and we can see that this person does fall under the 44 hours. But when we get to page 2, we've got additional complementary hours here. And this person has clicked that they would like to sign their SWIFT back and refer this to the workload monitoring group. And they've put a little note in here, please include hours for training as requested. So it gives a little bit of insight into why this person's SWIFT is being referred to the workload monitoring group. And on this standard workload form, which is just a little bit different again, we have another full-time person. They are a coordinator. They're a 2-step coordinator. You can tell they have 4 preps. And so we go across, we've got blended evaluation factors for this person. And when we come down here, we can say, this person is in what would be considered significant overtime because they're coming very close to that 47-hour maximum. So if we look down, we might want to say, well, why is there so much? And this person has a great deal of complementary functions that have been assigned, 17 hours worth, in fact. So there's the basics stuff, but they're also participating in the faculty mentor program, the new faculty development program, open house, and they are a program coordinator. So again, we see the voluntary overtime indicated here. This person is agreeing to their workload. So now we look at, are there any circumstances that would allow the college to violate the workload provisions in the collective agreement? And sometimes situations do arise that may result in one or more of these provisions being violated. And that's when a modified workload arrangement comes in. So Article 1109 deals with modified workload arrangements, and these are limited time agreements between the college, the faculty, and the union that are supposed to be used in rare or challenging situations. So here's just a few examples of things that might happen. A faculty member takes a sudden medical leave at week 6. The workload is divided between other faculty, and it pushes them beyond that allowable overtime limit of 47 hours. Or a course offering needs to be made on a Saturday. A workday is going to go beyond 8 hours because of the availability of very specialized lab equipment and the number of students. So if we look at this, and we assume that a professor has been asked to take this work on, so they're going to have a SWIFT in excess of 47 hours, and they currently are making $86,000 and change. Then we have an hourly rate. And if you divide your annual salary by 1,232 hours, you'll know what your hourly rate is. So overtime is paid like this. They take the number of overtime hours you're working, the number of weeks you'll be working, and they multiply it by your rate. And this is paid monthly. So typically you're going to see 4 weeks here. In some months, you might see 5. But in this case, we have 3.23 hours of overtime multiplied by the hourly rate. So each month that there are 4 weeks in a month, this person's going to earn an extra $907 and change. And then in the final month, December, there's only maybe 2 weeks of classes in December. And so they're earning this amount. So in total, in the term, they're going to earn an additional $3,175 and change in overtime. Now, the college produces overtime memos that provide this breakdown to you, and they send them to you automatically when you are in an overtime position. There are some requirements for modified workload arrangements, and they include things like at least 2/3 of the professors involved and their managers must agree. This is an equity issue. When you think about the fact that there are opportunities for people to earn potentially quite a bit of extra money, you want to make sure that if 2 or 3 people might have taught that course or taken on that work, that all of them have been consulted. They've all had a fair chance to say, hey, I'd like to do that work, and that they've been given that equal opportunity. Overall, no more than 20% of faculty can participate in MWAs at the same time. They are time limited to one academic year, but they can be extended if they are expressly renewed. They have to have a start and end date, and they have to contain all the details of the workload. So when the college completes an MWA, they'll attach the timetable, they'll indicate what provisions of the collective agreement are going to be violated or not apply in this particular situation, and any other information that might be required in order to have that approved. So the college will prepare it. They'll get a signature from the faculty member involved, and someone from the college will sign it. And this obviously should all be done in advance of the work starting. The college does routinely send these to the union late, unfortunately. So then that MWA gets sent to the union, and we check to make sure all the requirements have been met and the faculty member wants to take the workload on. They cannot force you into a modified workload arrangement. And if the union agrees to the MWA, no further action is taken. And for the most part, the union always agrees with these because the faculty has been consulted, they want to take on the extra work, and everybody's okay with it. If the union does not agree for some reason, and they have to have a good reason for not agreeing, then the parties will meet within 3 days to try to resolve it. And if there's no agreement, then the college can refer directly to a WRA within 7 days of the meeting, and the decision will be made within 10 days.